She was already leading, but her voice was the expansion. She said yes to God. Hey, welcome. I'm Theresa Croft. This is the Stuck No More Voices podcast. This series is called Why Jesus is Calling Women to the Mic, Part 3. But listen, we're not talking about influence for influence's sake. We're talking about stewardship. So we're talking about what happens when a Christian CEO recognizes that her leadership is meant to extend beyond the boardroom. Now, in review, in part 1, we talked about the calling. Part 2, we talked about legacy and voice as a counter to culture. Today, in part 3, we're stepping into real-time leadership, because it's one thing to talk about the executive voice. It's another thing to embody it. I'm joined by a CEO who understands that authority, faith, and voice are not separate lanes. They are integrated. And this conversation is for the woman who's already leading but knows her influence may be ready to expand. So let me introduce one of my dear friends, Michelle Tufford, to the stage. Hey, Michelle.
Hello, Theresa. Thanks for having me.
This is almost like old times. A couple of years ago, we every Thursday we do a podcast. So just to introduce Michelle, I just got to tell you that she's founder of No More Dry Ground, but I knew her back when. I think we're going on 3 years. And I remember I was seeing her on stage and I didn't know her. And the Holy Spirit's like, these are the kind of women I want you to follow. And before I even left that particular conference, I was put on Michelle's team. And we both have switched to another company. But wow, it's just such an honor to have you, Michelle. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Theresa. Definitely grateful God connected us. He's so touchable.
Yeah, and God is good about that. You know, you have a very key word in the back that says overflow.
Overflow, we love that word.
So I'm gonna jump right in and ask you some questions, because I've really been having a heart, not just for a podcast course, but something more than podcasting. And I think you embody that. So my first question for you is, well, many women can compartmentalize faith and business. How have you integrated faith into your leadership without diluting your authority into No More Dry Ground?
Ooh, good question. Yeah. I would say I have to go back to when there was a moment that I wasn't doing that and the difference. Because for me, the Lord has gifted me with entrepreneurship. I like from the time I was a kid, like loved this concept of building business, and He's also gifted me with drive. I'm one of those ambitious people. I'm gonna go and achieve, right? And when I stepped into the business space, I was walking in those gifts, right? I'm like, I'm gonna go, I'm gonna make things happen. And I was, but I wasn't doing it partnered with the Lord. Now, I was a woman of faith. I was going to church, I believe in God, but I had put church and God in a separate camp, and I was over building business, more so asking God for permission in a sense, but wasn't doing it with Him. Right. It was kind of like waving back, like, how we doing, God? And then kept moving forward. Right. But that was when I got to a place where I was suffering from a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety. And I realized that pursuit and chasing after those things without being fully partnered with God was leaving me feeling very unfulfilled. It was lacking the joy and the peace, right? I just felt like if I just achieved more, if I just made more money, if I just saw more success, things would change for me. And it didn't. And I got to the end of myself. The Lord let me come to the end of myself in that. And I realized, and the Lord met me in that place. And He said, daughter, He's like, I've given you these gifts. I've made you to be ambitious and to love business, but I want you to learn how to do it with me. So there was this sweet invitation from the Lord. And that's when I knew that there was going to be this shift and this change, and learning what it looks like to actually partner with Him. And wow, has it been a journey, a beautiful journey with the Lord, as He's had such love and grace along the journey with me to teach me what that actually looks like, but to build from the overflow that we're building from the relationship with God. Wow, such a contrast.
Yeah. So you had to say no to something and then to say yes to no more dry ground. What was that a matter of, okay, I hear God, I need to do this, or was it just a bold leap or
Mm,
combination?
combination, definitely. The Lord has been teaching me. I've had a number of different bold yeses and bold leaps, and they've each one of them were at transition points in my life where
Yeah,
it was hard to let go of the old and step
sure.
into the new because it's tempting with the old, with the things that we're familiar with. It's tempting to almost make them a part of you, like they're your identity. And that if you let something go, that somehow you're failing or, uh, and that was hard for me. But then
Yeah,
I realized that the Lord was just saying, this isn't a failure, this is an upgrade, right? Like
yeah,
that was that for that season, and the Lord is so sweet to teach me things in that season, and I will forever be grateful for the things I've let
sure.
go of, like, looking back
Yeah,
with realizing God used those things, but it's like the next level, it's the next step in the journey with the Lord, and so, yes, there was a stepping away and saying
yeah,
no to even things I loved and people that I
yeah,
loved, and
yeah.
that can be really hard, but you
Right.
keep yeah, the thing that kept me going is remembering what happened the last time I said yes in the scary, bold
Wow.
move, and
Yeah.
seeing God's hand in that, realizing like, "Okay, if he's asking me to let go of this thing, I remember last time, I know he has something better for me," which then gives you the confidence to move forward.
I think when you learn how to say no, it makes the yeses all the more easier.
Yes.
You know,
Mhm.
I love this saying I learned in my counseling. When you say yes, when it's really no, you lose a part of yourself and it sends a signal to your brain that you can't trust yourself. So
Mhm.
you really had to trust yourself, as in your relationship with God,
Yeah.
to say yes. This is Michelle Tufford, if you're listening, and she's part of No More Dry Ground. She's the founder, and we'll dive deep into No More Dry Ground. But I just want you to know that this is someone that you really can learn from. So listen, Michelle, if a Christian CEO is listening right now and sensing her influence is meant to expand,
Mm.
would you tell her about the responsibility of using her voice? Now, this is the season, this is the title, Why Jesus is Calling Women to the Mic, but the mic can represent a lot of different things. So, what would you tell her, I guess,
Mm.
about the responsibility of using her voice?
That's good. Yeah, okay. I can speak into this. This is something the Lord has been really stretching me, and
Okay.
He's been teaching me more and more about how He loves me. Okay, because it
Mm,
starts there, like knowing how much the Lord loves, right? When you understand how much He loves you, it's meant to be uh, it's meant to be shared. It's meant to be, again, the overflow, right? We're meant to overflow. We are meant to experience his love to a place of overflowing, right? Even
yeah.
Paul talks about it in Ephesians about us experiencing that love, but it is an overflow. And
Wow.
that as the Lord is asking us to steward in
Yeah.
these businesses, that it is meant for us to be able to share more of God's love. So He's going to stretch you. So I will say that get ready for the Lord to just stretch
No
you
doubt.
capacity to the max, but it's like he knows how much to stretch you, but there
Yeah.
is a posture that I think the Lord has been teaching me and is how do I position myself in a way of letting myself into the stretch? Because
Ooh,
there may be things, and this is something that I didn't realize till recently, there may be things that are blocking the flow of God's love. I didn't
okay.
realize that I was experiencing some of those blocks. Some of them for me were feeling unworthy to where
Mm,
I was starting to experience his love, but then I would pull back because I felt
yeah.
like, "Who am I, God, that you would love me in this capacity?" And I would pull away. But the Lord is teaching me how to actually give in and like surrender to the love because, again, He not only wants you to experience the fullness of His love, He wants you, again, we are talking about the mic, He wants you to then share that
Yeah.
love with your circle of influence. So as your influence increases, the position that you're in to overflow his love also increases. So the responsibility of sharing, it's about transferring the love that you're experiencing to those around you.
Yeah.
Because that's the
It,
greatest goal, right? For people to
yeah.
experience the love of God, because
Yes.
that at the end of our life, like, that's what's gonna matter. Like, how well did we love, right?
I remember going to the same speaker academy and you were sharing, like, at first you were sharing, like, I don't have a gory story. What do I share? And then God stopped you dead in your tracks
Yeah.
in a verse in Revelation. Why don't just, because that is literally stepping up to the mic on stage, is what we were at a speaking academy. So share a little bit about how you were stopped in your tracks by that one verse.
Yes. Yes. I mean, that verse where it talks about how they overcame him by
Mm.
the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony.
Yes.
That verse really hit me as I was having this kind of dialogue with the Lord, saying, like, who am I? Like, what do I have to share? And when the Lord was a sweet, sweet conviction and rebuke of, it's not your story that I want to share, it's mine. That's when I realized, wow, it was never about me.
So
It's
good.
about obedience. It's about pouring out of what God wants to pour in and through you, because we get to be vessels for Him.
Yes.
That's our
And you,
mission in life, is to
and
be a
I think I used to, still have it on my phone? I used to have it as a screensaver. It's not about you. It's about the people I've called you to, but it's not about you. So I share that story sometimes on the radio. That's when I don't use your name, but we're talking about saying yes, or, that the power of the word, it's not enough that, okay, we overcome by the blood of the Lamb. I mean, you'd think, okay, no needed to do anything more, but we overcome by the word of our testimony. So that to me is like faith in motion, which leads
Mhm.
me to the next question. As a founder, I'd say you're a CEO. When did you realize your voice wasn't just part of your leadership? Now, Michelle's on the mic 3-4 times. She leads a mastermind. She's on the mic. She has special guests. She's on the mic. So back to the question, when did you realize your voice wasn't just part of your leadership? It was a strategic extension of it.
Ooh, when did I realize?
Yeah, when did you realize?
It's been a process, I think, as the more and more I'm learning about my purpose, right? We
Mm,
talk about what matters, like what are we
yeah,
leaving? When I die, what is my life? What does that actually look like? What did I leave behind? And it really comes back to how well did I love? And
mm,
and again, going back to the more I've realized how much God loves me, and then to want to be in position, Lord, help me to see people the way you see people. Help me to love people the way you love. And that includes the outpouring, right? It includes
yeah,
showing up on these calls anywhere you are, and asking the Lord, how do you want to love these people?
yeah,
Right. And it looks different for each situation, but it's serving well, it's listening well, and it's asking the Lord, "Show me how you see this person," and being bold enough to say it, right? To say the
yeah.
things that He's giving you and being in position to do so.
That's good. Michelle has humbly grown a Facebook group like no other. What are you at now? 60,000?
62? We just crossed over 62,000.
And these are women that are Christian business women, wanting community, wanting to belong. And I got one question, and I want to talk about the role of No More Dry Ground. Okay, if a Christian founder, CEO is listening right now and sensing her influence is meant to expand, what would you tell her? What would you tell about her responsibility to
Mhm.
steward her voice, to
Woo.
use voice? I'm
Even
ready to sit in my seat to listen to
I
the
think
what you have to
I
say.
think we need to go deeper into this. So, we
Yeah,
talk about that sense of expanding.
yeah,
It's can be very weighty. So to that woman, like, I see you, I hear
mm,
you. It's heavy.
yeah,
Um, it can feel heavy. But
yeah.
the beauty of it is that it requires a posture. It does. It requires a posture of closeness to the Lord,
Um,
to carry that weight, because He says His yoke is easy and His burden is light. So you start to feel that weightiness, it's like it's an invitation to get closer to the Lord. So I'll say
Wow.
lean in, get closer to the Lord. And then as you're doing that, there is a responsibility that we have to share,
Yeah.
because we are called to be the hands and feet and voice of the Lord.
Mm.
As we walk and we live out our lives, we're given the Great Commission, right? To go and to make disciples. How do we do that? By
Yeah.
sharing the things that we're learning, by opening our mouths, by going first. Someone has to go first. And often it's the CEOs that are going first. And it's
Amen.
scary. It is, and it's hard.
Yeah.
But man, all the more reason why we like stay so close to the Lord and trust that He's going to give you the words. Because I know sometimes you can feel like, who am I? Again, where
Yeah.
it's like, what story do I have? It's like, it's not your story, it's His. So as you stay close, and Theresa, you do this so beautifully with what you do and what you teach. But it's all about the overflow.
Yeah.
So when you feel that weightiness, it's all the more reason to get back to your secret place. Like,
Yeah.
go spend some time in the secret place and know that it's there that you're going to be able to come out ready to step up to the mic and share the things that the Lord is going to
Yeah.
give, because He will.
I like how you said, like, I see you. You're leading, you're making critical decisions you have built. And even if you're at that place, yet you still know that God's calling you to not to grow your influence, not for the influence sake, but for the expansion, not to
Yeah.
just be another influencer, but for the correct expansion. And we're not, I know Michelle and I are not talking about content and noise. We're talking about strategic expansion. And I think you've done that so well with No More Dry Ground. Tell us about the birth of No More Dry Ground first, and then we'll talk some other things. This is just such a beautiful
Okay.
story, y'all.
Yeah, so Birth of No More Dry Ground came kind of in that season I was sharing before of, I was at a place where I wasn't partnering with God, suffering from a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but it was in the process of the Lord teaching me what it looks like to partner with Him. I was actually at a retreat. It was
Mm,
just a Christian women's retreat. And she gave us some time to just sit with the Lord and ask some questions. And he started to download some things for me, right? He like gave me this
yeah.
word. She asked us, like, is there a word? And I heard the word expansion. I'm like, okay,
Mm,
the Lord's gonna expand my business. And I was in another business at the time. So I wasn't with No More Dry Ground yet. I hadn't built
yeah.
No More Dry Ground yet.
Yeah.
So when I heard the word expansion immediately, I'm like, oh yeah, we're gonna blow up this business, right?
Yeah.
Well, I was also listening in the background, there was a song playing. And it was
Mm,
Isaiah's song. I don't know if any of you have heard it, but it's by Maverick City. And there's a part in the song that talks about how he'll make a way in the wilderness and streams in the desert. And
mm.
then it gets to this point in the song where it starts to repeat the phrase, no more dry ground, no
Oh,
more
wow.
dry ground. It was like this
Yeah.
declaration. And I knew there was something to it, but it didn't really resonate with me at the time, enough to where I wrote it in my journal. So I'm like
Wow.
documenting all of this, writing it in my journal, thinking again that the Lord's talking about the business that I'm currently in, because that's where I was at. But then a few months later, I was at a point where the Lord was transitioning me. I knew that He
Yeah.
was asking me to walk away from this and to start what is now No More Dry Ground. I just didn't know the name of it yet. I knew the Lord was putting on my heart that I was
Yeah.
going to do retreats and that I was going to lead. I was going to start my own business. And He brought me back to that time at the retreat, back to the word expansion, back to the Bible verse, back to the song. And it all came flooding to where I
Wow.
realized, wow, Lord, you were actually speaking about this new thing. And right away, as I went to go listen to the song, the words on repeat of No More Dry
Yeah.
Ground, and my spirit, No More Dry Ground. That is the name, because it was all about that realization that He is the way in the wilderness. He is
Amen.
the streams in the desert. What I used to think was the streams in the desert, I used to think that was just a change in my finances or more my business growing, or, we
Sure.
label what those things are. But what the Lord was highlighting to me is He was saying, I am
Yeah.
the way, I am the streams. When you are tapped into me, you have everything that
Mm,
you need. Everything
wow.
else flows from that place. And so the declaration of No More Dry Ground is that no matter what your circumstances look like, you can live
Yeah.
from the overflow. You can live in the joy and the peace, and everything flows from there, right? So
Yeah.
building, it's the declaration. Build your
Yeah.
business and your life from a place of no more dry ground because you're filled to overflow.
Right.
Living
You know,
waters.
look, out of the overflow, God gave Michelle Tufford, who we're talking to, a vision for a business. And out of the overflow, sometimes you think you got to study more, you got to read more, you got to. No, I think, I talk about this a lot in podcast episodes. They don't have to be difficult if you continue to go from the overflow. And that doesn't mean I go to my quiet time to get an episode or get a new business idea. But when you're sitting there, we had a mastermind call and it was so beautiful. One of the members was talking about, she sits by the window and watches the birds, and she didn't know if she needs to build more or, do more. And then we just all said, just keep staying there. God's he talks to you through the birds. He's going to talk to you. He might,
Best
you might
business
create
idea.
a whole business.
Yeah.
So No More Dry Ground now has really expanded as a branch of your Facebook group. You do have nomordryground.com. And inside you have this is what's interesting. You have amazing classes and programs, but I think most people come to be a part of the live community
Yeah.
Monday or Tuesday and Thursday. Isn't that show you the heart of women?
Yeah.
And there are some very successful women inside No More Dry Ground, but they don't just come to learn. It's not just like, okay, this is a course. They come to community. They're all about transformation. Yeah, they get some business ideas, but how has that touched your heart to see the evolution of that, like, come about as you lead this mastermind?
Yeah. Oh, so good. So one of the things that I really had vision for when I started No More Dry Ground that the Lord showed me was, what if the body of Christ truly came together? Speaking specifically, obviously we work with women, but like, what
Yeah.
if we truly came together with the realization that we all have something to bring? Like, if we brought our gifts
Mm.
and talents to the center of the table and actually linked arms with each other in a way that we wanted to help each other grow and build the
Yeah.
kingdom and not have that attitude of competition, that we could truly collaborate and come to a mastermind call,
Yeah.
push everything to the center of the table and say, hey, what are you working on? All right,
Mm.
how can we help you? And everyone rallying around each other and
It's
moving
so
those
good.
initiatives forward. That's what's happening at No More Dry Ground. Like, we
Yeah.
really are wanting to see each other win and succeed
Yes.
because we
Yeah.
recognize it's bigger than just business. What
Mm.
you're doing, Theresa, when I see you
Mm.
growing and stepping out and like getting breakthrough, and you're helping
Mm.
people with getting their voices. If I have some small part in helping you grow that,
Mm.
it
Yes.
just brings me so much joy, and it just makes me think of, like, that's how the Lord intended us to operate when he said we were the body. That's how he
Yeah.
intended it. We all
Yeah.
have unique gifts, and when we're operating in them, watch out. Like,
Yeah.
we're powerful together, right?
Yeah. And I have to tell you, you're one of those inner circle friends where I let you in on my battle. In fact, I found out that I had cancer at one of her retreats that I'm going to return back. But just to know that, you have sisters that you can share the rawest part of you. And I think, I don't do that to everyone, but I just remember the times, the questions, and your voice notes infusing courage. And that, that's No More Dry Ground, but that's showing ladies how to, outside of No More Dry Ground, to walk that way. And speaking of that retreat, that's when I found out I had cancer. I was sitting there and Michelle was finishing she knew, we didn't know the diagnosis, but as she finished her praying to lead off that retreat, my phone kind of made that look, and I thought, oh, this is, and I no sooner saw cancer and looked up, and we locked eyes, and all I could do was, and she came running, dropped down on her knees, started praying, everyone rallied. And 1 year later, I get to come back to No More Dry Ground retreat in South Carolina and say, I am cancer free. I may be
Oh,
missing some body parts. I didn't just have a mastectomy. I had to go back for a second surgery. So,
yeah.
and let's talk about your retreats because I've been to a lot of retreats. One thing that you do so beautifully, besides cooking amazing food, you really give the women flexibility and freedom. Yes, there's teaching. Yes, there's worship. I think you maybe don't talk as business as much, but you give some women who are really lonely. You give them time where next thing you know, those two are going off for a walk. They're hitting it off, or these two are laughing. These two over here realize they have things in common. I mean, it's just family. It's
Yeah.
not like it's like it's like a sisterhood. It's truly family. And that's, I think, what's the big draw is women are hungry for community. Because, Michelle, it's hard to have community. But God is flipping the tables on community. And the new form of community is like this on a Zoom camera, or on an interview with you. That, to me, is just radical. The way God is not letting all these boundaries and being separate. My best friends live far away, but I still have access to them. So, when you were forming the retreats, is that what was that your heart? I know your heart was community. Was your heart to take these women out of the ragged and just slow down?
Yeah. I would say the word that comes to mind is create space.
Oh, that's
So
good.
as I was even stepping in to say yes to the Lord to lead these retreats, of course, the that side of me that says, why would anyone come to a retreat to hear from me? Again, it's like, well,
Oh, yeah, a little of that, huh?
right? Definitely some of that. And then when the Lord again, like similar to about the speaking, it's not about you.
Yeah.
It's create space for me. And so
Mm,
setting the atmosphere at our retreats for women to come and sit at the feet of Jesus.
yeah.
Sit at the feet of Jesus together with other kingdom sisters who I like to call them battle buddies.
Yeah. No doubt.
Because I really do think that there's so much power in coming and being in community, and there are times that we need to hold each other's arms up, we need to speak
Yeah.
life to each other, but to come and create space together, and even, you mentioned that we don't do a ton of business stuff, which is interesting. It is a business retreat, yet people will say, like, you don't teach a lot of business. But I will say this one thing in regards to that, like, because I'm very passionate about it, is that if you're not hearing God's voice, if you're not
Well,
recognizing his voice in your life and in your business, you're missing it.
that's it.
So at our retreats, the number one thing, and when we talk about topic and what we dive into, is we teach women how to recognize his voice.
So good.
So
Powerful.
it's the most important piece. It's the
Yeah.
most important piece.
And
And
I
I
love
think
it.
the
Oh,
others
sorry.
aren't bad. We can talk business and we
Yeah.
can
No,
marketing things,
but
but
one thing I'll say about inner circle friends, you've really found Taran just a really war buddy to help you with this business, and that's really refreshing. Does that take a little pressure off, or how does that work? You're working with one of your best friends.
I
Mhm.
am. I am. I'm so
And
grateful.
that's
It's so
just like
sweet.
a blessing on top of no more dry
Yeah,
ground. I mean, the
especially
adventures you guys have already had in the last
oh,
6 months are, off the top.
yeah,
But
they are.
how do you kind
Adventure.
of, you lead, what you do is you create a hunger for women to find real friends. I think just by you guys being real together and leading, isn't
Mhm.
that interesting? You encourage women to say, hey, it's okay.
Mhm.
You come back a better wife for your husband, when you get to spend time with women.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that I think it makes you better. I'm not married anymore, but I can see how it makes you a better wife because you've had time. So
Mm.
you're filling up, but just by chance.
Yeah.
Where do they go to find out more about you? And is there a retreat available for someone to go to?
Yes, yes. So nomordryground.com is where you're
Okay.
going to learn about the mastermind, but the retreats also are there. So nomordryground/retreats will take you right to our
Okay.
retreat page, and we'll keep you updated on that page with what's upcoming. We have a sold out retreat in South Carolina, and we get to hang out, Teresa. So
Yeah,
excited.
I'm so excited.
And then we have another one in May in Utah, in
Okay.
Central Utah. And then we're going to be announcing dates for a retreat in Australia this fall.
Wow.
So
Don't tempt
we
me,
usually
girl.
like to do three to four retreats a year. We
Yeah.
did 5 last year. So we'll see what God
Wow.
has in store, but
I have some real buddies in Australia that don't tempt me, girl.
I've never been, and I'm excited
And
because, yes,
if
my
they
partner is from Australia. My
oh,
best friend is this with
yeah,
me.
that's where she's from, so that's gonna be pretty epic. So,
Yeah.
if they wanna find I'll just link her Facebook group. You may be a Christian businesswoman
Mhm.
and just wanna join an amazing group.
Yeah.
And then, of
We can
course, you can check the links out. I'll remind you of the links of No More Dry Ground and the retreats and all. So,
Yeah.
wow, thank you. This has been deep. I love it. I had some challenging questions for you, and
You did. It
you're
was so
probably one of my
I
favorite
like it.
and most interviewed person. So,
Aw, thank you.
Michelle, thank you. I really appreciate the way you lead with depth and clarity, and I got to say that you're not about surface and you're
Mm.
about overflow. And I just cannot think of a better way to end this series of Jesus is handing women the mic, and you might be the one that's doing that. So, wow. So, thank you, Michelle.
Thank you. Such a joy.
If this conversation stirred something in you, you felt it, it resonated, I want you to go and check out Michelle's No More Dry Ground. And if you're a woman in leadership and it's time for vision, to use your voice for strength, to join a cohort of powerful people, I encourage you to check the link. And we're not building noise here. We're building legacy. So I'm Theresa for the Stuck No More Voices podcast. I look forward to talking to you in the next episode.